When my boyfriend was at his lowest, I broke up with him. Later, he became successful and used every means to marry me. Everyone said I was the one true love, his most cherished wife. But then he started bringing different women home every night, breaking my heart and turning me into the laughingstock of our social circle. Meanwhile, I quietly and without making a scene, stayed in the study, never disturbing his affairs. He went crazy and aggressively kissed my lips. The doctor questioned me. "Aren't you jealous?" He didn't know I was sick. Every day he exacted his wild revenge. I was silently counting down. How many days did I have left to live? 3rd year of marriage to Will. He was keeping a mistress, a young, beautiful college student named Chloe. She was pure and lovely, exactly Will's type. Will had been keeping her for over half a year. Besides me, she was the woman Will had kept by his side the longest. Friends advised me to be careful, saying Will was serious about her. The first time I saw Chloe was on my birthday. I had been having nosebleeds since morning. I went to the hospital for a checkup, and the doctor said I probably only had until next spring. I nodded gently and whispered, "It's okay, I'm not afraid to die, but I'm a little afraid of pain. I heard there's a very expensive medicine that could make my last days more comfortable." My bank card didn't have enough money, so I went to Will's Sterling Corporation to find him. I happened to run into Chloe there too. She had just graduated and was working as Will's secretary. Will was in a meeting, so I sat outside and waited. Chloe kept staring at me, secretly whispering to her colleagues nearby, "Is that the boss's wife? She's so ugly, all dried up, like she's about to die. You all say I look like her, but how? I'm much prettier than her." My reflection in the shiny glass showed a bare face, bundled in a bulky down jacket. I really didn't look good, and I really was about to die. A colleague pulled Chloe aside and whispered, "She's just not dressed up. If she put on makeup, 10 of you combined wouldn't be as pretty as her. Also, don't provoke her just because the boss favors you. You don't know how much the boss loves her. If you upset her, the boss might make your life ruin you." Hearing that Will loved me so much, Chloe pouted defiantly and rolled her eyes at me. She brought me a cup of tea and asked sweetly, "Ellie, how could the boss make you wait so long? It's so strange. Whenever I came to see him before, no matter how busy he was, he would always come to be with me first. He said I was the most important, and I thought he was just as considerate to other women." She curved her eyes and smiled sweetly, her smile looking a lot like mine when I was younger. I thought about it. Will was indeed different with Chloe. He had countless lovers, treating them like a pawn in his game with me, bringing different women home every night, testing my reaction over and over again. Will never stayed with them for long, maybe a day or two, or 10 days to half a month. He always got bored with them quickly. But Chloe was different. Will kept her outside, taking her to dinner, shopping, movies. They were like an ordinary, loving couple. Will gave her money and he also gave her love. I looked at Chloe, smiled at her, and gently asked, "If you're so important, how could Will let you be a shameful mistress? You should try to convince him to divorce me soon and marry you." Chloe's face suddenly changed, enraged and humiliated. She lowered her voice and cursed at me. "The one who isn't loved is the real outcast. You're the extra person. You're just clinging to him because you met Mr. Sterling a few years before me, aren't you? But now you're old and ugly. What do you have to compete with me?" Her colleague was probably afraid I would get angry and quickly pulled her arm, trying to get her to leave. Actually, I was fine. I had long told myself I wouldn't get angry for Will, wouldn't be sad for him, and certainly wouldn't compete for his attention with other women. He wasn't worth it. Chloe was pulled, lost her balance, and fell to the ground, shattering the teacup in her hand. Her palm was cut deeply, and blood spilled everywhere. Will saw the injured Chloe through the conference room glass. Everyone was looking at him. He threw down his documents, pushed open the door, scooped Chloe into his arms and coldly cursed, "Who the hell hurt her?" The kind colleague stumbled back 2 steps, her face pale with fright. I sneered. "I did it. And she deserved it." Chloe cried, glaring at me and yelled, "Yes, I deserve it. Who told me to fall in love with the wrong person? To be called a mistress, a kept woman? But Mr. Sterling, as long as you love me too, I'll stay by your side forever. No one can separate us." She cried so adorably, even saying such ridiculous things made her seem bold and unwavering. Will was amused by her. He reached up, wiped away her tears and coaxed her. There, you're a little crybaby now." He was truly different with her. I lowered my gaze, not bothering to look anymore, and only said to Will, "I want 500,000 for my birthday this year." It was funny, we were husband and wife, but we didn't even have each other's contact information. Except for asking for money, I never initiated contact with him before we got married. We had an agreement. He wanted me, and I wanted his money. Will always hated me for being a gold digger. But in the past, whenever I asked, no matter how much money, he would give it to me, always more, never less. This time, however, he smiled at me a cold smile and slowly said, "You can have the money, but Eleanor, first humble yourself and apologize to Chloe." Will wanted to buy my dignity for $2 million, making me apologize to Chloe. This was the first time he had used money to humiliate me for another woman. I slowly clenched my fists, smiled softly, suppressing the sudden surge of pain in my body, and turned to leave. "I don't want the money." I suddenly became very curious. "Will, if one day you knew this money could have helped me live a little longer, knew how much I suffered before I died, what would your expression be?" I went home alone, painfully curled up in bed, drenched in cold sweat from the pain, and took some sleeping pills. I lied to myself, telling myself that once I fell asleep, the pain would be gone. In a daze, I had a dream, dreaming of when I was 20. Will was poor, but he loved me very, very much. That year, on my birthday, I passed a coffee shop and saw a couple sitting by the glass window. The girl had a small, pure white cake in her hand, which looked very delicate, delicious, and expensive. I still remembered, it was snowing heavily that day, and I held a small pile of snow towards Will, smiling, and asked him, "Will, does this pile of snow look like a cake?" Will gritted his teeth, reached out and hugged me tightly, not letting me see his secretly reddened eyes. 3 days later, he appeared at the campus dormitory with a large cake. A whole cake cost $258, but he could only earn $100 after distributing 3,000 flyers on the windy, snowy street. I looked at his frostbitten fingers, broke down crying uncontrollably, and yelled up at him, "Will, your hands are meant for reading and writing, but not for ruining them just to make me happy. I told you I don't deserve such an expensive cake." Will frowned and immediately retorted, "Eleanor, you are the best girl in the world. You deserve all the best things in the world." That day, I cried as I ate the entire cake. A long time passed, and I no longer remembered its taste, only that after that day, I never seemed to have eaten a cake better than that one. I slept for a long time. In a haze, I heard my phone ringing. Picking up the call, I heard Will shouting my name on the other end, "Eleanor." I smiled softly and sweetly called him. "Will, it's snowing heavily. I want to eat cake." Without waiting for him to speak, I turned over and fell back into a deep sleep. I slept until midnight, when hunger woke me up. I went to the living room to find something to eat, and discovered that Will had actually returned. He had bought Chloe a large house, and they lived there together. Chloe would cook for him, cheer him up, and wait for him to come home. Will was doing well. He hadn't been back in a long time. He leaned languidly against the floor-to-ceiling window, a cigarette in his mouth, staring intently at me. I walked past him with downcast eyes, and he grabbed me. He frowned and softly asked, "Why are you so thin?" His tone was gentle, as if he still loved me very much. I froze for a moment, then vigorously shook off his hand and cursed him. "Well, what are you doing?" He looked at his empty palm, and his expression turned cold. When I walked to the dining table, I saw a cake with candles on it. And then I realized that phone call wasn't a dream. I had said I wanted cake, and Will had bought one. What was this? A peace offering? But I was already dying. I no longer needed a cake, nor did I need Will. I grabbed the cake and threw it into the trash. Will gritted his teeth, pushed me against the wall, and cruelly cursed. "Eleanor, are you messing with me?" I smiled and admitted, "Well, yes, I'm messing with you." "So what?" I said I wanted cake, and you went and bought it. Why are you still so pathetic, just like before? I deliberately twisted the knife, hurt him deeply. Watching Will's face turn completely cold. He cruelly extinguished his cigarette, dragged me into the bedroom, and threw me onto the bed. Will was probably furious. Like an out-of-control beast, he roughly tore open my nightgown. I got scared, clenched my fists and hit him. "Will, you jerk, don't touch me. You're disgusting." He clamped my legs, preventing me from struggling, and bit my neck, making me cry tears of pain. He whispered in my ear, "Eleanor, would it kill you to give in a little vulnerability? Do you know I've been waiting for you to coax me? I've waited for you for how many years? Do you know how happy I was when you told me you wanted cake, and then you just played me for a fool?" He looked up, his eyes bloodshot, staring at me. I held back my tears and stared back. In the dim room, neither of us spoke, neither willing to concede first. Will leaned closer and closer to me. Just as he was about to kiss my lips, his phone suddenly rang. It was Chloe. Will paused, then answered. I heard Chloe crying and asking him, "Mr. Sterling, Are you really going to abandon me for Ellie? You clearly like me. I'm at the bar right now. I've had a lot to drink, and a man is harassing me. I'm so scared. Please come pick me up and take me home, okay? Will didn't speak. He just stared at me, smiling coldly and softly ordered. Eleanor, beg me to stay. If you just ask me, I won't leave. He seemed to have forgotten that a long time ago, I too had swallowed my dignity and begged him. Will, can we talk calmly once? Can we stop fighting? Can we be together properly? Can you be a little kinder to me? That day, Will stared at me indifferently and said with a laugh, Eleanor, you don't deserve it. Those 3 words had pierced my heart, and today, I could finally throw his words back at him. I grabbed his collar and said word by word, Will, you don't deserve it. Will was silent for a moment, then suddenly gave a self-deprecating laugh. He brought the phone to his ear and told Chloe, Wait for me, I'll take you home. Without another glance at me, he stood up, slammed the door, and left. The next day, photos of Will getting into a major brawl over Chloe spread through the social circle. This was the first time his affair with another woman became public knowledge. Several reporters waited at my doorstep, swarming me with questions when I left. Will's Sterling Corporation had developed rapidly in recent years and held significant influence in the city's elite circles. He was young, rich, and handsome, very well known online, and was constantly in the news, often went viral. A girl asked me, Mrs. Sterling, what do you have to say about Mr. Sterling and Chloe? I continued walking, not looking back, and retorted, One is a man cheating in his marriage, the other is a woman who willingly became the other woman. What do you want me to say? The girl pursued me, continuing to ask, But I heard that when Mr. Sterling was at his poorest, you dumped him for money. Then, when he became successful, you manipulated him emotionally and used every means to marry him. Now Mr. Sterling has found true love, and he and Chloe are a perfect couple in heaven. You're clinging to the title of Mrs. Sterling and calling others mistresses. Don't you think you're bullying others? I stopped, looked at her with a cold smile, and grabbed the work ID hanging on her chest. She was an intern reporter, and her student ID from Summit University was in the back of the card holder. I calmly asked her, You're Chloe's friend, aren't you? Back then, Will resorted to all sorts of methods to marry me. Do you think I really wanted to marry him? Everyone in our circle knows about this. Don't you know, or are you specifically here to slander me to help your little friend become the mistress? Her expression changed. She snatched her ID back in a panic and argued self-righteously. She and I are indeed friends, but I'm a reporter, and what I say is objectively notarized. If you truly didn't want to marry Mr. Sterling, then why don't you divorce him now that he's in love with someone else? I smiled, about to speak, when I suddenly started having nosebleeds again, looking quite a mess. Someone scoffed. Mrs. Sterling says she doesn't care and was forced to marry Mr. Sterling, but why is she getting so worked up? I wiped the blood from my lips with my fingertip and calmly said, I'm not worked up, I'm just sick and dying. I've been having nosebleeds a lot lately. The crowd suddenly fell silent. No one was laughing anymore. Only that girl continued. What are you trying to pull? Just because you're having a nosebleed, you start faking illness and sympathy. I really can't stand women like you, constantly overreacting and resorting to shameless tactics just to snatch a man. You're a disgrace to women. After she finished, she tossed her ponytail and left. Her back was as irritating as Chloe's. The video of me being interviewed by reporters quickly went viral. Will publicly responded, I will never divorce. Stop bothering my wife. That afternoon, Chloe's reporter friend was fired. Many netizens cursed at me. This woman is disgusting. If she didn't want to marry him, she shouldn't have. She's acting like someone held a knife to her throat, pretending she had no choice. They said she was Mr. Sterling's the one true love, but I think she's a total white lotus. Mr. Sterling is defending her so much, I'm jealous. And this woman dumped Mr. Sterling for money before, and now she married him for money again. She says she didn't want to, but she's just pretending to be noble. She's a prostitute trying to set up a memorial arch. A netizen interjected. Watch your language. If you don't know the truth, then shut the hell up. Everyone started pressing him. What's the real story? This story, if you think about it, is actually a pretty common. That year, my mom got a terminal illness. The doctor said there was a very high genetic probability for this disease. Not only could I get seriously ill at any time, but if I married and had children, my children would likely also be at risk of getting sick. The day my mom had an episode, she lost a significant amount of blood from her nose. She fell into a coma for 3 days from severe blood loss. When she woke up, she told me to break up with Will. I stared at her blankly and whispered, "Mom, he won't look down on me." It was as if I was saying it to my mom, and also to myself. Mom gently held my hand and nodded. Mom knows he's a good person. She paused, then smiled. You two started dating in high school. He rode his bike to wait for you at the street corner every morning. Did you think I didn't know? One time I saw him buy you a gourmet sandwich for breakfast. He only had $12 in his pocket. A gourmet sandwich was $10, leaving $2. He bought 2 large coffees, one for him and one for you. You were so easily tempted and a bit naive back then. He tricked you into believing he'd already eaten, and you ate the sandwich with such contentment. Back then, how pathetic poor Will was. His parents divorced and left him feeling abandoned. They only gave him a little allowance, spending money each month. He lived like an orphan. $12 was probably his allowance, spending money for a day, and he didn't think twice about spending it all on you. At that time, I felt my daughter was blessed, fortunate to have found such a good boy. He was good at studying, a good person, good in every way. It's because he was so good that it broke my heart. That year, Will's grandmother was also hospitalized. He grew up with his grandmother and had a deep bond with her. To pay for his grandmother's medical treatment, he was overwhelmed with work every day. My mom said, "Will's wings are too fragile. If he carries grandma and then carries me, he won't be able to fly." I dug my nails into my palm, and after a long time, I said in a trembling voice, "Mom, I can't bear to leave him." With that single phrase, "I can't bear to leave him," tears streamed down my face. Things from 10 years ago still feel heartbreaking when I think about them now. I bought my mom's favorite ingredients and prepared to go to Lakeside Memorial Park to say goodbye to her one last time. I was dying, and I needed to tell her that I wouldn't be coming anymore. Before going, I first went to Will's Sterling Corporation to pick up some things. When my mom was alive, she always liked Will very much. That year, she wasn't sick yet, and Will and I were still deeply in love. My mom went to a spiritual retreat and sought blessings, asking for 2 lucky blessing dolls, one boy and one girl. Hidden inside the lucky blessing dolls were Will's birthday and mine, to ensure safety, health, and that loving people can be together forever. Mom told me to take the lucky blessing dolls to Will. Will didn't want his own lucky blessing dolls, but insisted on taking mine. He said, "That girl doll with the red cheeks looks just like me, adorably awkward." He said when he saw it, "It was like seeing me." He liked seeing me. That lucky blessing dolls is still on Will's desk today. I was afraid that when I died, Will would toss it like garbage. It was something my mom bought for me. I had to get it back and place it in front of her tombstone, to keep her company for me. When I arrived at Sterling Corporation, Will was watching my morning video, the one where I was having nosebleeds and saying I was dying. Seeing me, he threw his phone aside, saying nothing, asking nothing. I saw that the spot on his desk where the lucky blessing dolls usually sat was empty, and I frowned, asking him, "Where's my lucky blessing dolls?" Chloe followed me over. Hearing me ask for something, she smiled and said, "The other day I pricked my palm, and Mr. Sterling felt terrible for him. It broke my heart. He said he couldn't bear to see me hurt, so he gave me that lucky blessing dolls. He also said that doll looks a lot like me, a bit clumsy, but he really likes it." Ellie, do you think he's talking nonsense? I'm so beautiful. I don't look like such an ugly doll at all. I clenched my fists fiercely, glaring cruelly at Will, and demanded, "How dare you give my things to someone else? My mom got that for me. How dare you give it away?" He smiled, provoking me like a jerk. "Was that lucky blessing dolls yours?" "Sorry, I forgot. I thought it was some worthless item." Before he could finish, I picked up the crystal ashtray on the table and threw it at him. Will didn't dodge. The crystal ashtray hit him on the forehead, drawing blood. Chloe shrieked and cursed me. "Are you out of your mind? You'd hit someone over a broken doll." She turned and ran out, returning quickly with my lucky blessing dolls in her hand. She threw the lucky blessing dolls at me, yelling, "Here, your thing. Nobody would feel terrible for him. It broke my heart. Felt sorry for you for throwing away a cheap trinket item like that. Do you think I care about it? Stop being crazy. Take your stuff and leave." The ceramic lucky blessing dolls fell to the ground, shattered to pieces. I saw my name and my birthday broken into several pieces, just like my life. It probably couldn't be fixed again. I suddenly felt that I was probably going to die. But I didn't want to die yet. I hadn't seen my mom, and I was afraid she would wait for me if I didn't show up. My head reeled. I raised my hand and slapped Chloe, screaming like a madwoman, "That's my mom's." I felt terrible for him. It broke my heart. I felt terrible for him. It broke my heart. Before I finished speaking, tears streamed down my face. I reached out to grab Chloe, but Will grabbed my wrist and stopped me. My eyes welled up, and I stared at him, crying, then laughing. I cursed him. You know I'm dying and you still bully me. Will, you truly are a monster. He raised his hand to wipe away my tears and retorted. First it's cake, now it's dying. Eleanor, is messing with me so much fun for you? You don't have to cry for me. I won't feel terrible for him. It broke my heart. Before he could finish, a drop of blood suddenly fell. Splattering on the back of his hand, I was having nosebleeds again. This time worse than before. My legs felt weak, and my whole body ached so much I couldn't stand. I collapsed straight down. Will caught me in his arms and shouted for an ambulance. He was powerless, only able to watch my blood flow more and more, staining his white shirt. In my coma, I heard Will crying, repeatedly asking, Why? Why won't the bleeding stop? Please stop bleeding, Eleanor. Please don't scare me. I smelled the disinfectant from the hospital. I heard the doctor tell Will. Originally, she could have lived until next spring, or even longer. But she said she had no money and wouldn't get treatment. Now her condition is out of control, and there's no need for further treatment. Will retorted. So you're saying my wife is dying? Without waiting for the doctor to speak, he suddenly raised his voice and cursed cruelly. I want my wife to live. If you can cure her, then cure her. If you can't, then get out and find someone who can. That day, Will almost smashed the hospital room. He found countless specialist teams, saying that no matter how much it cost, he wanted me to live. But a terminal illness isn't something that can be cured with money. Will was like an obsessed person, listening to nothing. He wanted to take me out of the hospital and have me treated abroad. He was rich and powerful, making a scene in the hospital, and no one dared to stop him. Until my best friend, Ethan Lewis, appeared with my will and testament. A long time ago, I had notarized my will, entrusting everything to him. I said, if one day, I'm lying in bed unable to move, eat or drink, then don't put me through any more pain. Let me go. He knew I was most afraid of pain. Ethan slapped Will, pointing at his nose and cursing. You have so much money, where the hell were you before? Now you're acting tough, Mr. Sterling? It's too late, it's over. She's dying. You can't take her anywhere. Wherever I am, she'll be. Will stared at the will and testament in Ethan's hand, frozen in place. After a long time, I heard him, his voice choked with tears, softly say, Ethan Lewis, let me take her. Please. Believe me, she can survive, she won't die. If she dies, what will I do? Ethan looked at him calmly and coldly cursed. A stone-hearted man like you can live just fine without anyone. Stop playing the devoted husband pretending to be heartbroken here. It's disgusting to yourself and everyone else. He pushed Will aside, sat by the bed and took my hand. As soon as he spoke, tears fell. He asked me, You really don't want to live? He cried so hard that it made me sad too. I wanted so badly to lift my hand and wipe away his tears to tell him. Don't feel terrible for him, it broke my heart. I just need to go to a very long, peaceful sleep. Once I'm asleep, it won't hurt anymore. He asked me again. Can you wake up just one more time? You said we should say goodbye properly so there wouldn't be any regrets when you left. You haven't said goodbye to Mom. You haven't said goodbye to me. How could you bear it? My tears fell along with his, and the life monitor suddenly beeped. The doctor quickly urged Ethan to talk to me more, saying there were signs of me waking up. That day, Ethan held my hand, not even daring to drink water, and kept talking to me. He cried and laughed, which was quite frightening. I had originally planned to just die, but he made it feel inappropriate not to wake up and comfort him. I struggled with my rotting body until I finally opened my eyes in the middle of the night. For more than half a month after I woke up, Ethan stayed by my side. He took care of me to the point of obsession. Feeding me, accompanying me to the restroom, almost even helping me take off my pants. I was anxious, wanting to get better quickly if this continued. Ethan Lewis would turn into a pervert. When he wasn't in the room, I tried to go to the restroom by myself. Would I be able to walk without assistance? As it turned out, when I came out of the restroom, my legs suddenly gave out, and I fell to the ground, hitting the sink and getting blood all over my face. I struggled to get up, accidentally pulling off the cloth covering the bathroom mirror, and looked up to see a terrifying face. Will rushed in, pulled me into his arms, and wouldn't let me look. He cursed in a low voice. I just went to pay the bill. Where the hell did Ethan Lewis go? He's useless. I couldn't push him away. I frowned and interrupted him. Don't talk bad about Ethan in front of me. I don't like it. He has his own life, family, and work, unlike me, who has nothing but time to cause trouble for him. Will shut his mouth and said nothing more. He found a lot of tissues to wipe my face. Looking at the patches of blood, his eyes reddened, and he calmly pretended to ask, "Why didn't you tell me sooner? That you were sick? What's your mouth for? You could have gotten better, did you know that? Eleanor, why did you have to be so strong and make things like this?" I calmly said, "Because I don't need you. I don't need your concern, and I don't need your companionship. So whether you know I'm sick or not, it's not important to me." Actually, I never deliberately hid it from Will. My medical test results were on the table, visible if he just looked down, but he never glanced at them. During those days when I was slowly wasting away, Chloe appeared by his side. That girl was younger than me, prettier than me, and more likable than me. Because of her, Will started not coming home all night. So he couldn't see me, how many times I collapsed on the ground, in excruciating pain. How out of fear I cried and called the doctor for help, looking so pathetic. Will carried me onto the hospital bed. As he bent down, a tear fell onto my face. He turned and scoffed at me. "Yes, Eleanor, you're so amazing. You dumped me when you wanted, and made me leave when you wanted. I know you don't need me, so I don't need to be needed, fine." After a long pause, he continued with a choked voice, "But I need you." I said nothing, closing my eyes and pretending to be asleep. Will still didn't know why I broke up with him before. That year, he became successful and came back to me, saying he wanted to marry me. I owed him a proper explanation. I had originally planned to tell him everything. I wanted to tell him that the hurtful things I said when we broke up were all lies. He was a good person, he deserved the best girl in the world, and they would have a happy family, healthy children, free from the burdens of poverty and the torment of illness. I had recited these words countless times, hoping I could smile and tell Will, "I hope you'll be happy from now on." No one knew how many times I cried in the dark of night. I regretted so much why I couldn't be the girl who would stay with him for a lifetime. The day I finally got my emotions in order, I wanted to find Will. He was at the Prestige Club, conducting business. It was probably not a good time to talk properly. His voice sounded a bit drunk. I was worried after hanging up and decided to go anyway. When I called him again, he didn't answer. When I arrived at the Prestige Club, I had to search for him room by room. When I finally found him through the glass on a door, I only saw him holding a woman in his arms, kissing her passionately. I pushed the door open and entered. He turned and saw me, showing no panic at all. I held back my tears and asked him, "Will, are you messing with me?" He pushed the woman away, approached me, reeking of alcohol, backed me into a corner, and wiped away my tears. He smiled and coaxed me. "I originally intended to mess with you. But that day when I came to your house and saw how miserable you were, I felt a pang of sympathy. Eleanor, how about I actually marry you? What do you say? It's just that I don't love you anymore, so you have to be good. No crying, no drama. I have many lovers, and if you're always jealous, I'll get very annoyed." Hearing Will say he didn't love me anymore, my tears fell. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to remain calm and softly said, "Will, I came to tell you that I don't plan to marry you. The reason we broke up that year was because my mom." Before I could finish, he suddenly grabbed my chin and cursed cruelly. "Don't you dare bring up your mother. You don't have to push all the blame onto her. You and your mother are both equally greedy for money. Neither of you is better than the other." He threatened me, reeking of alcohol. "Eleanor, when I say I'm going to marry you, I'm not asking for your opinion. You'd better accept it with gratitude." He said he didn't want to hear my explanations, and that he would make me suffer even more than he did for fairness. I looked at his face, and it suddenly felt so strange. Perhaps the kindness my mother and I showed him before was just unrequited. Perhaps that year I should have held on to him tightly, letting him be consumed by worry, letting the poverty-stricken life crush his spirit. I was truly too foolish before, so foolish that I felt sorry for myself. He continued, "I heard Ethan Lewis used to work at the Prestige Club, serving drinks to people, right? He's quite lucky to have found such a good boyfriend. What do you think, if that guy knew Ethan Lewis used to be a hostess, would he still want him?" I trembled with anger, raised my hand and slapped Will, cursing him as a jerk. He pressed his tongue against the inside of his cheek, smiled and grabbed my chin, saying, "Eleanor, to get back at you, I can do even more despicable things. You can try me if you don't believe it." Will was cruel, and I didn't dare test him. I was afraid of ruining Ethan's hard-won good life, so I could only tell myself that I was a worthless life anyway, and it didn't matter where I rotted. So I might as well marry him. This revenge lasted a long time, so long that Will grew tired of it and wanted to reconcile. But I no longer loved him. I had become a mess, and I couldn't hide it from Ethan's eyes. He got very angry, and for the next 2 days, no matter what I did, he would scold me. He scolded me until I cried. I buried my face in the covers and yelled, "You're too good at scolding, you just bully me. If you're so brave, take me to my mom. You definitely won't be able to outscold her." Ethan was silent for a long time. After a while, he stroked my hair and gently coaxed me. "Once you're well, I'll take you to see Mom, okay?" I knew he was lying to me, and I also knew I wouldn't get better. But I didn't want him to worry, so I smiled and nodded. "Okay." I started trying harder to recover, taking large amounts of medicine. My arms were bruised from injections, but I no longer cried out in pain. Will watched from the side, gritted his teeth, and slammed the door as he left. At night, I heard him arguing with Ethan. "Eleanor wants to see her mom, don't you understand? What's wrong with letting her go once?" Ethan cursed him. "I think you just want her to die early. You jerk, you think she's living too long and getting in the way of your little mistress? Is that it?" I secretly wiped away my tears, hating myself for becoming a burden by living, causing Ethan so much trouble. I stopped insisting on seeing my mom, but my spirits slowly dwindled. I started sleeping more and more, and my waking hours became fewer. I thought it was time to say goodbye to Ethan properly. Perhaps it was a final burst of energy, but in the following days my body hurt more and more, yet my mind felt clearer. Chloe couldn't stand it anymore, probably having heard that I was recovering well. She came to the hospital to find me while Will was away. As soon as Ethan saw her, he cursed. "No one like you is allowed in here. You'd better get out now, or I'll beat you unrecognizable." Chloe, however, uncharacteristically, suddenly knelt by my bed, crying and begging me. "Ellie, I'm pregnant with Mr. Sterling's child. You're almost dead. Please be a good person just this once and give me back my child's father." She had been pregnant for 3 months, and I had been sick for 3 months. So, Will talked about needing me, but then turned around and was indulging in a hedonistic lifestyle lost in a blur of parties and pleasure with other women. Of course, what would he need a dying woman for? He was just lying to me. Luckily, I didn't believe him. Chloe cried and reached out to pull my arm. I was so weak that she almost dragged me off the bed. Ethan protected me, getting several scratches. Suddenly, someone grabbed Chloe's hair and yanked her away. Will gritted his teeth, wanting to devour Chloe, and cruelly cursed. "Didn't I tell you, if you dare to provoke my wife, I'll make your life ruin you?" Chloe's expression changed. Just as she was about to speak, Ethan picked up the pillow beside him and threw it at their faces, shouting desperately, "Get out of here with this pathetic person." Will dragged Chloe away. He told me to wait for him to come back and explain. Who would wait for him? I didn't care at all. Ethan looked down at me and softly asked, "Ellie, are you okay? Are you uncomfortable anywhere?" I covered my chest, pretending to be very sad, and acted a little coy with him. "My heart hurts so much, I need to go shopping to feel better." He laughed at me. Because he thought I was doing well lately, he agreed to take me out. I bought a baked sweet potato and got into his car. He was a germaphobe and never allowed anyone to eat in his car. I, taking advantage of being sick, ate heartily in his car, and sweet potato crumbs fell onto the seats. Ethan Lewis gritted his teeth, pretending not to see. I directed him to drive to an upscale bridal boutique. He was getting married in the spring, but I probably wouldn't make it. I wanted to see her in a wedding dress. He didn't ask why I brought him here, just followed me into the store with reddened eyes. We were best friends. We understood each other without words. I picked out a strapless satin wedding dress for Ethan. While he was trying it on, I picked out a bridesmaid dress for myself. I put on my dress and squeezed into his fitting room, taking a photo together, as if I could still send him off to get married. My taste was good. Ethan looked especially beautiful in the wedding dress. I asked him if he wanted to buy it, and he rolled his eyes at me, whispering, "Buy it? It's a rip-off. Just take a few more pictures." I smiled, left him in the fitting room to admire himself primp, and quietly paid for it. He was the best person in the world. He deserved the most beautiful wedding dress in the world. I endured the cruel pain in my chest, left the bridal boutique, and took a taxi to the cemetery to see Mom. "Ethan, this is really goodbye. No jokes, no crying." Epilogue. After Eleanor died, Will often wondered what he was thinking when he signed the organ donation agreement. He hadn't realized that the day he dragged away Chloe would be the last time he saw Eleanor. He calmly watched her and Chloe struggling, as usual, seemingly indifferent to whether he had fallen in love with another woman. But he always felt that Eleanor had truly died at that moment. So she didn't wait for him to come back, nor did she give him a chance to explain. Her body was taken by the hospital, and he couldn't even get her ashes. Eleanor was truly too cruel. He began to regret not telling her then Chloe was indeed pregnant, but the child wasn't his. That night at the bar he had too much to drink and was exploited drunk people. By the time Will arrived it was too late. Chloe was a master of playing the victim. She said, "I don't drink and I get drunk easily. If Will hadn't made me so upset, I would never have gone through something like this in my life." Will certainly knew she was emotional blackmail, but seeing her in floods of tears, he suddenly thought of Eleanor. He softened. He helped put the exploiting drunk people scumbag in prison, and gave her money to get an abortion. But he couldn't give her anything more. He had always thought Chloe was a very well-behaved girl. Although her temper had been spoiled by him, she was obedient. He didn't expect that he had raised a greedy, treacherous snake person, who, when he least expected it, cruelly stung him. He thought, Eleanor must have hated him when she died, right? Then he thought, he was the one who abandoned her in the first place, so why would she hate him? He asked Eleanor repeatedly in his dreams. "Why did you break up with me? You loved me, didn't you?" The next moment, Ethan Lewis shielded Eleanor behind him, pointing at his nose and cursing. "Where the hell were you before? When she wanted to tell you, you wouldn't listen. And now that she's dead, you're asking. Aren't you pathetic? How low can you go?" Then Will woke up with a start. He was not afraid of Ethan. He was afraid of hearing Eleanor say she no longer loved him. His heart began to have problems. The doctor advised him not to be too sad, but he said he wasn't. He was quite calm. He also started growing plants. Eleanor's succulents were left on the balcony. When he found them, they were all dead. He heard that succulents were very resilient, and he wanted to try to bring them back to life. When he came home at night, he would squat in front of those succulents and talk to them. He had once seen Eleanor doing the same thing on a sunny afternoon. She was squatting there with her legs tucked in, and she looked back to see him return with another woman. Will cruelly slapped himself. He began to rewrite his own memories. In his memories, Eleanor's lonely figures were all accompanied by his shadow. He would hold her tightly, kiss her gently, and stay with her forever and ever. Later, at a party, he cruelly beat up a cheating scumbag who betrayed his wife. His old cronies cursed him. "Are you out of your mind? You constantly switching women yourself, and you call us scumbags? Why don't you just die?" He broke down, smashed the room at the Prestige Club, and said they were all talking nonsense. He clearly loved his wife the most. Until someone pulled out a picture of him kissing Chloe. He froze, then left without looking back. He thought he must have been set up. He had to figure out how to explain it to his wife. He didn't want to make his wife angry. Anger was so bad for one's health. He rushed home. As he got off the elevator, he saw a pregnant woman standing at the door. He seemed to recognize this woman. She was the one from the photo earlier. A wave of fear washed over him. Had this woman already found his wife? Had she been talking nonsense and upset his wife? He raised his hand and grabbed her hair, dragging her into the stairwell, and cruelly cursed. "Chloe, are you actually not afraid to die?" He choked her neck, forcing her backward, further and further back, until Chloe missed a step and fell down the stairwell. Watching the blood stain the steps, Will smiled. Good, now no one can ruin his and Eleanor's relationship. 2 weeks later, Will was sent to a psychiatric mental institution. His behavior was no different from a normal person, except for one strange thing. He constantly called a broken Lucky Blessing doll's wife. This Lucky Blessing doll's was very old, glued together, full of cracks, and a piece was missing from its chest, as if it lacked a heart. Will always kept it by his bedside, looking at it and smiling. He asked it, "Wife, why haven't you come to see me yet? Will misses you very much, and you? Do you miss me?" A moment later his eyes reddened, and he murmured to himself, "I forgot, a heartless person doesn't understand what it means to miss someone." He suddenly remembered that he had lost/threw away Eleanor's heart a long time ago.